Yeah. Jon Cooper joins us, Ourlad's Guide to the NFL Draft. Jon, thank you very much for your time. Sorry about that issue with the audio. Anything that's happened since the weekend, the flurry of trades and or free agency that could affect the top of the draft? And I'm not saying the number one pick, but anything that's up in the top 5 to 10?
Yeah, I think, it's hard to digest all this stuff. It happens so fast. We're sitting here working on, on players and things like that. But I think, nothing necessarily major that way. But, I think I don't think what, Cleveland did is going to affect their need for a quarterback necessarily. I don't think what happened. I don't see anything right now that for sure is going to do that. With the Bears going down them, I think their need for an offensive lineman, their interior, might have lessened quite a bit with what they did. But, it's hard to tell just how teams are going to view that. I mean, there are a lot of best player available is what you're going to see with the top of the draft. There's lots of good players there.
Are the Bears, because they've now solidified that interior of the offensive line, they drafted Darnell Wright just 2 years ago, so he's going to be the right tackle. I assume Braxton Jones is the left tackle right now, unless they decide to do that. But are they the team you see that could maybe be the first one to pick off Ashton Jeanty? Because if they do that, then that gives them, a really solid rookie runner for Ben Johnson, who loves to run the ball.
I don't think he'll get past the Bears. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Because I think that's what what I see right now. I'm looking at all the guys they signed. They fixed a lot of things that were weaknesses if these players perform. Not all those guys were elite players last year, but if you look at their offensive line, the 3 guys they got are better than what they had or how they performed anyway last year.
So people are going to have to trade up and get him if they're worried about it.
Yeah, right. Then the Bears might be the ones that have to trade up and get them.
Okay.
So, Jon, on that subject of running backs, it's pretty clear Ashton Jeanty's like that guy when it comes to the position. And then there's a lot of names that have been mentioned. Is there like a second group of a few guys, or maybe even less than a few guys, that separates itself from the rest of that pack? A second tier, if you will, in your eyes, of that running back class?
Yeah, I think there's 3, maybe 4 guys that are in that second tier. Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, Travion Henderson, and Quinshin Judkins from Ohio State. Both of those guys, and possibly Caleb Johnson from Iowa, could be in that category of that second tier.
Where do you put Cam Skattebo?
He's be the next guy. He would be in fact, I was almost stuck him in there, but I was thinking that these are guys that would be higher second-round picks. Scatterable maybe a little bit less than that, but he would be right there.
Jon Cooper with us, Ourlad's Guide to the NFL Draft on 365 Sports. You mentioned Hampton. You mentioned obviously Judkins. What about Henderson at Ohio State? Where is he in that kind of that clump?
Well, yeah, I think I mentioned him too. If I didn't, I was remiss. But he would be second or third. We go back and forth as to who we like better, Hampton or Henderson. I like Henderson's speed. I think his outside ability is fantastic. He can be a game breaker, on a toss or a throw in the flat. You give him a little room, he's got a chance to hit a home run. And so, not real big, 202 pounds, but fast and got agility in traffic. And those are things you don't teach.
There is some scuttlebutt now, and this is draft season, so as you know, nothing's true at all. But they have some teams that are saying that Sheduer Sanders is not in the first round on their board, or that he could fall out. Do you think that is maybe subterfuge from some of the teams that are trying to make sure that he is there for them to draft? Because there's only 2 guys that are first-round worthy by most metrics.
Yeah, I think that I don't know what the case is, and every board is different. I know that you talk to some teams, if they don't have the need, the player's not on their board. Their board didn't even set with that guy, so they're going to draft him no matter what, figuring he's going to be gone. So that could be some of those people talking, but the teams that need quarterbacks, he's going to be on their board, and whether it's in the first round or whether it's in the second round, he's going to be on their board. So, and people don't look at it necessarily as first round, second round. They look at tiers of players. So if the first tier has Cam Ward and Sheduer Sanders, the question is, where does that tier fit for you? If you're maybe your top 10 pick or even first or second round pick, and you need a quarterback, they would probably be in that tier. But if they're not, then you're going to have to look at the next tier of quarterbacks.
I think I've slowly kind of whittled away asking you about most of the Big 12 prospects, but a couple guys I'm not sure if we talked about or not in the wide receiver group. Savion Williams out of TCU, who did a lot of Wildcat last year, and then Kobe Hudson out of UCF. I was wondering if you had thoughts on either one of those two prospects.
Well, Savion Williams is a nice, a really nice receiver that I'm familiar with. We've looked at him a lot, and, we like the speed. There's some things he doesn't do well. His acceleration, deceleration isn't the best, but he can run. He's a big receiver that, can catch the deep ball for you, and he can be a really nice X receiver. We really like him, as far as that goes. I haven't looked at the kid from UCF much. Our other guy has seen him more than I have, so I can't really comment that much on him as far as how high or how, where we think he would go.
Where is Savion Williams compared to how San Francisco and Washington hope to use Deebo Samuel?
I don't think he's quite that type of player. I know he's done some Wildcat stuff, but he has speed, and he could do some of that. But you don't see too many 6'4", running back type guys. But
sure.
But that said, he's got the speed, to do that. So, but I think people are going to look at him as, as that deep threat that can play outside, and be a factor that way.
Somebody on the chat, some fans, of course, of college football, certain teams, DJ Giddens at Kansas State, who at times flashed and looked really good, and at times it was just okay. You not know much or want to say much about him?
He's a little bit down the line for us, in terms of how these guys are ranked. But, he definitely has tools. He definitely has some skills. These are all good football players. They can play. And it's just a matter of, now we start getting into the metrics. What do they do? What's their acceleration rate, deceleration rate? All these things come into play. And those are the separators, and we have access to some of that, but we don't study it like NFL scouts do.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be a little bit down the line. I'm going to, meet with our guy that does metrics Friday for some last minute stuff. So that's going to be something, I'm going to ask him about some of these guys.
Have you gotten to watch Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech much? He's very athletic. He seems like he could maybe be a guy that you could do some things with, and further down the line of the draft, but kind of an intriguing prospect at tight end.
Yeah, he's okay. This is a good year. This is a good class for tight ends, and he's a good receiver, and he definitely is in the mix for us as somebody that. Where he's going to get drafted, probably not real high, but he is a solid football player. I think he's a second-day pick. Could be a second-day pick.
Wow. He does seem to fit a lot of the parts in the tight end class, as you mentioned, starting with Penn State and Warren. Caleb Rogers, offensive lineman from Texas Tech. And I know, John, there are hundreds of names out there, but we're getting some questions on our chat room, so I wanted to fire that away to you, an offensive lineman from Texas Tech.
Caleb Rogers, 6'4", 6'4", 312 pounds. He's got good size. The little bit of the knock, his wingspan differential is okay. It's, a little bit below average, so that's going to be something people are going to look at. As far as playing tackler is concerned, I think he might be a candidate to move inside. He's a solid player. He's on our board. And, maybe second, third day type guy. It's not a great year for offensive tackles and offensive linemen in general, to be very honest. It's more of a defensive line, edge rusher draft All you got to do is take a look at the number of guards, tackles, and centers that got to the combine versus the number of edge rushers and defensive tackles. 40 tackles. So that's where the draft is really, really strong.
Jon, next week the Big 12 will have their multi-day combine for all the players, or a lot of the players that didn't get invited to the regular NFL combine. I was just curious, do you see much value in that? I mean, is that something that you guys will pay attention to? And just what are your thoughts on a conference kind of saying, hey, we don't have enough spotlight for some guys, we're going to put them out there together and see what we can get for them in terms of some of that spotlight?
I think it's a great idea. I really like it because, for some reason guys don't work at the combine. And every year it seems like for a while there when the first thing went on TV, everybody wanted to work out. They wanted to be out. Now all of a sudden they're saying, no, I don't think so. I'd rather work out at my school. I'd rather work out in a more comfort zone. I'd rather have a little bit more time to prepare. So you're seeing a lot of guys that, aren't working out. Now they got an opportunity to work out at a pro day. And I think it's a good idea. I just wish they would do these things a little earlier because, we're getting towards April. Some of these pro days are going in. So I think they ought to all be, in March. I think there ought to be, if I was going to put a rule in, is every one of them got to be done by the 25th of March. And I'd have the combine a little earlier too. But that's just, preparing for the draft's not easy.
Jon, do you think that there is a diamond in the rough in the mid-round quarterbacks in the Riley Leonard, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Shuck kind of group? Yeah,
I think so. I think any one of those guys that you mentioned could be, in that mode. Curtis Rourke is a guy that's not real mobile, but he's an accurate passer from Indiana. Riley Leonard is a great athlete. I really like what he does. We're hot and cold on Jalen Milroe. We haven't kind of decided yet. I think we're starting to think that, hey, you know what? With his athleticism, let's work with him. Let's develop him. There's some obviously flaws in the way he throws the football, but he might go a little higher than people expect. But Max Brosmer from Minnesota and Kyle McCord from Syracuse all fit that mold. They're guys that have redeeming qualities. They do some things well. We get them in the building. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can bring out some things in them, in terms of consistent accuracy and whatnot. If they don't have mobility, that's a problem. And that's, I think, one of the things that Sheduer Sanders is finding, that he may drop a little bit because of that. But, boy, he's an accurate passer.
Jon, late last week, there's a young man from Commerce, East Texas A&M. It's in Commerce, Texas, just a little bit an hour or so east of Dallas. His name's a cornerback, and this is off the wall here. His name is Kendall Paul, and he ran a 4.27 at the pro day, and all of a sudden there's people who at least are starting to get to know him. He didn't even have anyone who was going to represent him until about October, which in this day and age, you have people representing you when you're in high school. But he ran a 4.27. He's not big. He's a corner. He's physical, but yet he doesn't have a lot of size. Have you heard much about him at all? Do you hear about that?
I just got the name, and so no, I don't. We've got a list of players.
Oh yeah,
and he's not on our list. So, in fact, I just picked up another one today from a Division II school in Michigan that's not on our list, an off-the-ball linebacker. So, and this happened to us. This happens every year. We pick up these names late, and now we got to scramble and try to get some film. And now, what level is this school? Is it NAIA?
Yeah, it's. I believe it's NCAA. It might be an FCS or Division II.
Okay.
It's a school. It used to be. Remember Wade Wilson, the quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah, he came. It was East Texas State University, and now a lot of these bigger schools are starting to take over campuses. So it's East Texas A&M in Commerce, Texas. Kendall Paul, but I forgot who. I saw it on Twitter. I contacted the school. They gave me his agent's name, and he gave me the number. We had Kendall on earlier this week. But it's at least an intriguing story that at least now people know just because of that flat-out great 40 time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he runs a 40 like that. they're going to take a good look at him. Now, I'm going to tell you a story because we had a kid like that from Illinois where we're at, and it was a kid that a guy had played for me, was his high school coach, and he was playing at a school called Dubuque. His name was Hughes, and he went to the Senior Bowl. He went into the Senior Bowl out of Dubuque University in Iowa, and I actually called the school and wanted to talk to my old player from years past, and he didn't even start at the high school he went to. He didn't play. He went and walked on at Division III school, and all of a sudden became a player. And he never really made it in the NFL, but he was around on practice squads and whatnot. And so there's some crazy stories like that. So nothing surprises me after that.
I know that you don't. I just sent you his agent's number. I just text that number to you. Just
appreciate
in case,
it.
I thought you never know, right? He may have just been fast that day. Great personality, great kid, and so I just sent you the number to his agent. We appreciate it, Jon. Counting down week by week. Next thing you know, it's going to be the draft, and then you start working on 26. Or maybe you already are, knowing you. We appreciate your time.
No.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you bet. Thanks.
Jon
Bye-bye.
Cooper with us on most Wednesdays